Hello and welcome to BizTalks. Today we are chatting with Wilmien Davis, and it's great to have you on board with us today. How are you, Wilmien?
Hello, Chris. Thank you so much. No, it's going great, and the weather is brilliant at this stage where I am. So it feels like spring is on my doorstep. So I can't wait for the rest of the season.
Fantastic. So, Wilmien, let's get to know you a little bit better. Where were you born? Where did you grow up?
I was born in Louis-Trichardt. Now, that is far up north in the Limpopo province. But then my parents moved to Pretoria. So my primary school years, I grew up in Pretoria. And from there, they moved to KwaZulu-Natal, to Pietermaritzburg. So my whole high school, I was in Pietermaritzburg. Yes, and from there I studied, and yeah.
Okay, great. Well, Louis-Trichardt is a beautiful area. It's known for the wildlife in Limpopo as well. I think these days it's now called Mokado, if I remember correctly. But growing up, any specific interest? Were you sort of more of an academic person or a sporty kind of person?
Very geeky, I must say. Unfortunately, I wish I loved sport. I really wish I loved sport. It would have made life so much easier. But I was the geeky type, and I think I've drank through my whole primary school. To be honest, I don't think I had a personality then. But slowly but surely, I've realized I love mathematics and I love science. So that in the later part of my primary years started happening, and definitely on high school. I was more into the academics, yes.
Okay, fantastic. So you finished high school in Pretoria, and where did you go to from there? Did you study? What did you study?
I did high school in Pietermaritzburg.
Oh, yes, so that's correct, yeah.
We went from this very Afrikaans setting, from Louis-Trichardt to Pretoria, moving into the very English Natal. So that was quite a challenge for me. So I decided to keep on my studies in Afrikaans. So I went to Potchefstroom University to study further, only to realize all the textbooks are in English in any way. But that was a good journey. And I only learned to really speak English when I started working later on. And then eventually I married an English guy. So one get over all these issues you had when you were at school.
Oh my word. And what did you study at University of Potchefstroom?
Chemical engineering.
Chemical engineering. Okay, so in context, learning something as scientific as chemical engineering from Afrikaans to English is a challenge because some of the scientific terms can be quite tricky.
Yes, I think the first few years they were nice to us. They've translated everything. So, which was a problem later on when you had to learn. And when you work with international people, I mean, we've worked with the Germans and the French and the Americans, and then I know the Afrikaans technical term and not the English one. So I always recommend to someone, if you go technical, just do it from English from the beginning, because the translation very confusing.
And that's universal across the globe. It doesn't matter whether it's Italian or French or whatever. It is kind of the international language to learn, specifically in the scientific community. So I'm really interested to find out, you studied chemical engineering. What happened after that? I'm guessing you worked as an engineer afterwards?
Yes, I've committed engineering for 16 years of my career now. So for the first 8 years, I focused on research and development. I really enjoyed that part where we sometimes had to research new facilities that were built. But already then, I actually realized the other day, I started to becoming more a coordinator type of person. I've loved to look at the projects and help them managing the projects. I've even created a training course while I was in research for project coordinators to help them through the motion. So my love for training has started very early on already. My love for people have started late in my life. I always was so scared of people until I realized that I actually love working with people and I have a knack for working with people. So 8 years of research and development. And then the next 8 years, I was an engineering manager on a big project, having engineers reporting to me and helping them on the big project to get all the things ready to build a new plant. So that was a lot of learning, and a lot of experience. And I actually loved that. That was a good part of my career.
Fantastic. I mean, what a great basis to work from. 16 years in corporate as a chemical engineer. That's a pretty decent career, and especially ending as a manager. So the signs evidently were all there, working with people and coordinating with people. But how did you then go from the jump of being corporate into starting your own company?
Maybe, let me just tell you, maybe it was a midlife crisis. I don't know. But I was approaching 40th. I was close to getting 40 years old, and I started very late with children in my life, and my children were very small. And it's difficult. A full-time mummy, I had some eye problems at that stage too. And someone just told me, Wilmien, a rough career, 2 little children, and having to cope with vision problems is too much. You must let something go. And I was like, what do I get going? What do I let go? So that was one trigger point. Another trigger point was that the company I worked for started to give packages out for people to have voluntary retrenchment packages. And then I looked at my husband and said, you know what? I believe there's something else that I need to do with my life. I want more freedom to be with my children when I want to, and not only see them 1 or 2 hours in the evening. And a friend of mine who was younger than me, she reported to me. I asked her, what in the world can I do? And she told me, become a coach. And I said, a coach? What coach? I only know sport coaches, and sport is not my thing. And she said, no, Wilmien, become a life coach. And I said, but who will pay me for that? And she said, I will pay you for it. And when I've done the transition, I went to see a coach. We went through Strength Finder. We looked at everything, and everything pointed, but that is what I love doing. And she was my first client after I've left corporate to start with this new crazy career of trying to become an entrepreneur.
Tell you what, a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs will listen to that and go, that sounds familiar in a maybe a different context, but we've all been there, we've all done that. And so now the opportunity came across for you to jump both feet into your own business. How's the journey been, especially during the initial phases? You got your first client who helped you get there, but how was it in the initial phases?
Tough. Well, the first things that I've done, I've used some of the money to study coaching. I didn't want to give myself out as a coach or as a Strength Finder coach without having something to back me up. So I went on my journey to find a very good coaching program, a very good Strength Finder program, to qualify myself in that. But one client is very excited, but one client is not sustainable. And that has been an interesting thing, realizing you've learned all these other things at university, but you haven't learned a lot about entrepreneurship. And I didn't realize how difficult it really is going to be. I love the work, I love the interaction with my clients, but how to get out there that's a total different journey that one has to go on to.
Yeah, for sure. And I love how you have sort of created the synergy between your chemical engineering and your scientific background with your coaching at the same time. You get chemistry of change. And let's be honest, one of the realities of life and something that you can always count on, I think the saying should be changed, that you can always count on death and taxes. Change should be included with that one as well, because let's all admit it, every day there's change. So you've incorporated that background and your corporate background into your coaching and the chemistry of change. How did that link come about? Obviously, there's the natural level of it, but there's strategic thinking behind it as well.
Yeah, Chris, that was a journey on its own, because I started my business as wilmiendavisconsulting. Consulting. Everyone say your name must be in there, and that is what I started off with. But as I talk to people, because I thought I'm making a total new cut. I cut my history, where I'm coming from, and I'm making a total new start. And it took me a while to realize that the engineering part and the chemical engineering part was good stuff. It was good things, but it can't be my foundation. So it don't need to be my foundation, but it is a valuable building block that I have. I can't throw that 16 years away, but it is a building block on a bigger foundation for me in what I'm trying to do. And I started to play, but it was a long journey to think of how I put engineering in the name or whatever until we got to the thing, chemistry of change. It's all about change. So you'll see I have a gear in my new logo that is show a little bit of the engineering part and how the gears fit into each other. And playing with that, and one lady, Dawn Klatzko, she was brilliant. She was one lady that I've attended a personal branding course with, and she said, go look into your history and find the things that you can use when you brand yourself that is so part of your story. And when I started to embrace my history and where I'm coming from, it feels to me doors are opening. It feels to me, this is me. I can't hide from who I am. People need to accept me with my degree, with my experience, and with my future that I'm going into. I'm all of that, but I'm so much more now. Because many times when people hear you're a chemical engineer, that's the only thing they can think about. But I'm more than that. I'm a coach, I'm a trainer, I'm a speaker. And but embrace every little bit of who we are, and that makes us more authentic, doesn't it?
Well, exactly, and it's playing to your strengths. So you can work with an individual on a one-to-one basis because of that side of the journey that you've been on. But on the other side, you can work with large corporations who've got big teams because you understand large projects, all the cogs that go into that, making that system work well. So it comes with a lot of experience, and it's good to embrace exactly who you are.
Yes, totally.
So you've mentioned a couple of things like Strength Finder and that you're a coach, and now we've got to the point where there's the incorporation of the scientific side and the engineering, but you're a coach. How does your process work? So if I were to contact you tomorrow and say, I'm Chris, I need somebody to work with, I need a coach, how does the process work from there?
But I love working with people. I love my one-on-one interaction with people. So I would love if people reach out. WhatsApp me. Phoning is difficult because one might be in a session like this that we are now and the phone is on silent, but it's so easy to get back to people after a WhatsApp or even after an email message that one can arrange your half an hour. And many times I say your first half an hour is for free because we need to get to know each other. We need to see, is there chemistry between the coach and the other person? And I believe there's a lot of value I can give you, but you need to see if that is value that you are willing to pay for. And if you're willing to pay for it, I'll just bring all my experience and everything I have on the table. And very soon I have some online courses that I'm also going to sell. So that is also something.
So for me, that's very interesting because you say like you're part of chemistry of change and you're looking at change within yourself as well. So it's not just sort of talking the talk, but you're actually walking the walk by looking and embracing change of new mediums and doing video content like this and looking at moving your courses online. Let's chat a little bit more about the chemistry of change. Obviously, it's not just one kind of, work with you and do the Strength Finder or working for leadership development. What are the various different areas that you offer coaching and development in?
Yes, and I just want to pick up on what you said. It's the change starts with me. And this big change journey has really been a big thing. I had to learn so many new skills that I never thought I would want, but it's how to practically implement it. And whatever I do, and maybe that's my engineering coming back in, but I'm trying to make things practically. What can we practically do when, for instance, we learn about boundaries? Boundaries is one of the things that I see a lot of leaders that I work with are struggling because they are so good at what they are doing. They just get more and more and more. And they are the ones that burn out. People who don't do a lot don't burn out. It's those who do a lot that gets more to do. But how does boundaries look in my life? How have I practically learned how to have to implement not only physical boundaries, but emotional boundaries? So I love to bring it back into a very practical one. I can teach as much theory as I want to, but can we apply it into your life with your unique strengths, with your applications, with your circumstances that you are having? So that is what I'm very, very passionate about, is how to bring it back to you and the change that you have to do. And sometimes my way will work for you, but sometimes not. Sometimes it's a very unique thing that will work for you. And I love working with my clients to find those unique things in their life that work only for them and no one else. So yes, and the chemistry of change, my bigger umbrella, I have my chemistry of leadership, where I would love to work with leaders who've already shown that they are committed, who definitely want to take this journey further and not only get all the tick boxes, but leaders who really care about the people following them, because people who follow you because they like you and because they can see you have direction is much easier to work with than people following you because you sign their salary check at the end of the day. And to become a leader people will follow you, ideal. And there's so much we can do to improve on those skills. And then on teams as well, it's one thing to develop you as a leader, but how do you get your team to work well together? How do you get your team to gel and to get synergy? Teams are supposed to have synergy, but what do I find? I don't find 1 + 1 is 3. I find with teams, many times 1 + 1 is a half. And that is not where we want. We really want these people to work together, have high performance, but on a sustainable basis, not on a short-term energy spurt where you have to whip out and do everything. But how do we find the motivation for teams, and what can we do there? That really makes me excited. And then my third leg is chemistry of faith, where I work with individuals on a faith journey and take that further and develop that.
Sure, and it's interesting because you go from a sort of a top-down approach and a bottom-up approach at the same time. Because, look, I've done my fair share of development and coaching over the years, and always, if the team is not performing, it is your fault as the leader. But it is also actually very important that you have a good team around you at the same time. You can take the horse to the water as much as possible, but you can't always make that horse drink. So I think it's very good to do that rounded approach of doing the leadership development and the team development at the same time.
Yes. And I have so many stories to tell now. And one thing I love when I'm working with teams is to look in the human body, for instance. And chemistry is so brilliant. I get inspired to become so creative with this chemistry background, where I see, how does the heart and the lungs have to work together? It's two different teams. So we can even look at a bigger organism or organization. And how do those two teams work together? And there's jobs that each need to do separately in a brilliant way. But there's also critical interaction points that I love to talk about, where at those points they need to collaborate and they need to work together. So each must do brilliant work, but they also have certain places in time where they work together. So I have loads of stories to try to use the metaphor to make it practical, to understand it, and to help leaders and teams to change the way they think, to bring new perspectives in, because we only really change when we have a new perspective that makes sense for us to work with.
Yeah, that reframe, look at it from a different angle or perspective, and that makes all the difference. Well, I mean, if I may, I'd like to pose a challenge to you, because something you mentioned a little bit earlier. I like that response. A little bit earlier, you mentioned, when it comes down to leadership and needing to do things, is that, well, what do I need to change within myself first before I apply it? Now, let's all be honest. We're human beings. At the end of the day, we're going to turn around and say, no, but I'm perfect. Everybody else around me needs to change and ship up or ship out. How do you deal with that kind of mindset and help facilitate somebody to go through the process where they learn they've got to make the changes first before they can see it in everyday life?
A very, very good question. And there's so many different ways to approach that. I have met one or two people that I believe are uncoachable. You do get a few people who are not willing to accept that they need to change. I just believe there is unlimited potential in each and every individual. And because I believe there's unlimited potential, I'm pushing myself the whole time in my own boundaries to be able to see what can I do better, what can I do more. So if you believe you've reached your unlimited potential, wow, come and teach me. But I want to challenge you back and say, for whoever is listening, you have more potential than you can imagine. And if you team up with the right coach and with the right program, you can learn a thing or two, and it will just make you such a better human being. Sometimes it's just to relax a little, sometimes it's laugh a little, sometimes it's a new skill that we have. None of us are perfect, not yet. One day maybe.
Yeah, well, and that's life. It's a continual journey of learning and growth throughout the time, and it takes finding the right person to connect with, to help you through that journey, guide you, teach you, and help open your eyes.
And Chris, the best leaders out there that I've ever seen are people who say, wow, I can still learn more. I believe, and that is where we talk about that growth mindset versus the fixed mindset. The fixed mindset say, I know everything, but the growth mindset say, I can achieve even more. And those are the ideal people to work with.
Oh, of course. And I mean, like you said, you're a mom. How often, as an adult, do your own children teach you something on a daily basis? So, if you're from that school of thought of, well, I've got everything sorted, I don't need anybody to help me or coach me or change within myself. We see it daily with our kids. They even show us things that we didn't even know was possible.
Yes. I was single for a long time in my life, and I went on a personal discovery and did a lot of effort to get to know myself better. And then I got married. And then I thought, okay, I didn't know this of me with all the challenges that might come in marriage. And then just I thought, wow, this was a great learning thing. Now I really know myself. Until child number 1 gets born. And then child number 2 gets born. And that's such a continual learning thing. And now we have moved from Gauteng to Natal recently. What a new learning opportunity that was in a total different community. The same, every team you are working with, every project you are working with, everything we are working with sometimes challenges something in me. And when I go deeper, I'm like, wow, that is a part of myself that has never been revealed. That is that part of the potential that I'm starting to learn. And sometimes it first comes out as a bit of a negative. But the more I interact with it, the more I understand myself better, the more I can turn it into a positive.
And you know what? That sums it up beautifully, because we're living in some very strange times where whether the context or the metaphor is science or being a parent or general day-to-day life that we're having to go through, or learning how to be a partner under stressful times, we're all constantly going through this period of change, growth, and development. And there's nothing wrong with getting somebody who's a professional that can help guide you through that process and walk that journey with you. And I think that sums it up in a really, really good way to highlight the importance of it. So Wilmien, we're going to post, obviously, with this video and the various different channels, all the contact details. But run us through it. How does anybody get hold of you? What's the best way to contact you, find out more, go through the process, and sort of do that, well, I'm ready, let's do this kind of process?
So Chris, I really hope by the time we go live with this video that my new website, Chemistry of Change, will also be live. And I see the first bits of that. I'm very, very excited. So on my website, www.chemistryofchange.co.za. You can see everything I'm doing. Very easy to contact me. You can leave a message on the website. It emails me directly. You can contact me on my cell phone, and we'll put the numbers out there. But please use the WhatsApp, because I'm not always available on call when we are busy with all our different things. But email is also one of the very, very good ways to get my attention very quickly. So I have 2 email addresses you can use. It's wilmiendavisconsulting, my old brand, at gmail.com, or my new one, Wilmien at chemistryofchange.co.za.
And it's always good. I love asking that question because each of us have our own unique way that we prefer to communicate. Some people might be Instagram, direct message, or whatever the case may be, but it's good to know. Email, send a WhatsApp, go to the new website. I must say, I have had a sneak preview of the website. It's looking fantastic. There's also a whole lot of events coming up. I think you're being a bit humble because you're up to a whole lot of things. There's events coming up that you can book for. There's the YouTube channel where you can go see some videos and get to know Wilmien even better. There's quite a lot out there, and I'm guessing all the links are on the website. So your first protocol, chemistryofchange.co.za, and all the contact details are there, and that's your first protocol. And I'm sure many people will be in contact with you soon.
I hope so. Thank you, Chris. This is a really nice interview.